I woke up this morning with leaves in my bed, the dreams of the night circling ahead. Mud on my toes, snags in my hair, fungal forays wafting my nose, fingers painted with colours of earth, planting the seeds of dreams to birth, my senses igniting trackways between my flesh and my bones and the places unseen. Welcome, kindreds, it's Jessica. If life has been rushing you lately, this new moon in Taurus is the perfect invitation to slow down, soften, and come home to yourself. In this video, I'm going to guide you through a Taurus new moon journaling ritual to help you ground into what truly matters at this time. I'll be pulling some tarot cards for a collective reading, and I'll also be sharing about the astrology of what this specific Taurus new moon means. But you don't need to be an astrology expert to get the juice from this. Just soften and relax into it. You can journal along with me or just ground into the nurturing vibes of this earthy new moon. Taurus, the first of the earth signs, speaks to stability, embodiment, patience, and sensual exploration. A Taurus new moon is the first planting after a barren winter. Intentions set now seek to root deeply, drawing sustenance slowly and steadily. The Taurus new moon invites reflection on what truly sustains us, materially, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, and urges a return to simplicity, beauty, and bodily wisdom. It is the moon of artisans, of farmers, healers, and those who cherish the slow miracle of growth. It's also traditionally the time of year in the Northern Hemisphere when plants can be planted directly into the ground, as we're usually clear of the last frost. If you'd like more about Taurus New Moon with suggestions for ritual, journaling, and horoscopes for all the signs, I have a free guide that you can download. It also has journal ephemera that I'm using for my setup here. I'll link all of that in the description. Now, let's look at the energy of this specific Taurus new moon on April 27th, 2025. This new moon is forming a fixed T-square with Mars and Pluto. A T-square is a pattern of tension that demands a dynamic resolution. Fixed signs resist change, and when locked in conflict, energy can build to a point of crisis or breakthrough. Mars in Leo brings an assertive, dramatic force, whereas Pluto in Aquarius adds that deep, collective transformation energy, almost like surgical in its intensity. This moon sun together in Taurus may feel like a little under siege, like forced out of their comfort zone. So, to resolve this tension, we look to the sign opposite the new moon, which is Scorpio. This is the missing leg of the T-square, so that's known as the point of release in traditional astrology. So Scorpio, that sign opposite Taurus, governs emotional depth, shadow work, transformation, death, and rebirth. So to balance the stubborn tension of this T-square, we must allow something to die metaphorically. An attachment, a fear, an old narrative perhaps. And we let this go in order to heal and regenerate for new life to be able to come through. So the focus then for this Taurus new moon is on what must be surrendered to allow those new roots to take hold. The ruler of this moon, Venus, is conjunct Saturn in Pisces, and this blending of Venus in her exaltation in Pisces, tempered by the gravitas of Saturn, offers a really powerful alchemical moment. Dreams can be crystallized into form now, but this happens through sacrifice, realism, and soulful dedication. And also to like the physical reality. The dreams that survive this crucible are the ones that are worth anchoring. Anything that is surplus must be cast off now to feed that new life that wants to come through, if only there is space to allow it. This new moon in Taurus asks us to plant not just seeds of desire, but seeds of deep, soulful necessity. We are called to dig into our Scorpio depths, to transmute fear into power and sorrow into purpose. Venus, our guide, holds Saturn's hand, urging us to dream wisely and love with devotion, longevity and devotion. As far as the other planets go, we've got Mercury in Aries, which is brisk and bold in speech and thought. That can stir the mind with new fires. It can also mean that we speak a bit too quickly sometimes, so that's something to be aware of. Chiron nearby suggests a wounded voice seeking expression. So this is also a powerful time for healing communication and our sense of self and identity. Jupiter in Gemini invites expansive thought and curiosity, but warns against scattering our intentions too thinly. We need to focus now. The magic in this moon comes through grounding deeply into ourselves, our senses, our bodies, and feeling out what needs to be discarded now, sacrificed, so that growth can happen. It is a moon of pruning and tending. I'm going to pull some cards now for our Taurus new moon reading. I'm going to take 3 cards, one for the energy, the collective energy, one for something to focus on in this new moon, and then something to cast off, because this moon is about surrender. I'm using the deck, the Goddess of Love Tarot. It's a book and deck for embodying the erotic divine feminine. I think I've been using it all of this month since we've entered into Taurus season, and I probably will continue to use it around belting because it is that kind of like female sexual energy kind of deck. I'll link that down below as well. So I just invite you to drop in, take a few deep breaths as I'm giving the cards another shuffle. I did shuffle them a little bit before I pressed record. So 3 cards for this Taurus new moon, which is kind of a variation on the general kind of just sensual earthy vibes, because we have got that Mars-Pluto opposition, bringing some tension. Oh my gosh, the 5 of Pentacles just jumped out when I said about that, that tension, which is quite funny. Yeah, okay. Right. Okay. So the first card is going to be for the energy of this moon, and we've got the 6 of Swords. We've got these swords kind of crossed over here in like a 6-pointed star, a Star of David. And the 6 of Swords card is quite an emotional energy, even though it is a swords card. You know, we've got the water on here giving us that kind of like watery vibes as well. We've also got this swan. The 6 of Swords is very much about like healing inner child stuff. I find a lot of the time. It's also like, because the 6 is like 2 3s, which is what we've got here on the card. You know, we've got this triangle and we've got this triangle. So we've got those 2 triangles kind of superimposed onto each other, showing the 3 and the 3. And 3 is quite a dynamic energy. So when we get the 6 of Swords coming out, there is definitely like a moving on for us in this space now, and a moving away. You know, it's like a moving from somewhere to somewhere else. And in the like the kind of traditional Rider-Waite-Smith version of this, it's people in a boat and they're taking their swords with them in the boat. But in this card instead, the person that is moving is this swan, which is carrying this gorgeous like crystal amber drop, taking it. So it's like, we need to, it is swords, we're thinking of mental energy. We've got some kind of stagnant, trapped mental energy. Most likely, you know, things people have said about us or stories that we think are true about ourselves. And in this Taurus new moon, we've got that opportunity now to, the energy is one of moving away from that stuff which is keeping us stuck, and moving towards a more kind of protected and true sense of self as we come through this moon. So there is some mental energy, and that makes sense as well. You know, when we think about, we've still got Mercury in Aries as well, you know, bringing that kind of like mental energy vibe to this moon. There is some thinking that we need to do here, but we've got the thinking, we've also got like the physical embodiment as well, that aspect of it. So what do we focus on? Oh, beautiful. So we've got this 4 of Wands, and so this kind of like creative, vibrant energy of the 4 of Wands. We've also got these like serpents and roses here on this version of the card, and there's like kind of like castle in the air, castle in the cloud kind of vibes as well. Interestingly, with like a full moon rather than, or maybe even the sun, I suppose, on this card. The 4 of Wands, what we want to focus on is that thing, that the dream. We want to focus on the castles in the cloud, the place we want to get to. Look how all these flames are like kind of reaching up towards that. We've got that kind of serpentine, that kundalini kind of energy, the physical energy, and we've also got that gorgeous Venusian rose rising up towards this dream. So in this new moon, and not just for the new moon, you know, for this whole new moon cycle, which is a 4-week cycle, we can reach up towards what it is that we want to manifest, that we want to bring. And maybe this has given us a clue that we have got Venus, the ruler of this moon, conjunct Saturn on this new moon. So there is the possibility to really manifest with this moon. There's some powerful manifestation energy. And so if there's something that feels out of reach, we can reach it. We've just got to kind of visualize it. We've got to dream it, and we've got to accept that it is going to, you know, Taurus doesn't do anything super quickly. It is a definite like slow, steady energy. So, but we take steps towards it, because that is how we get there. You know, like if we just stay where we are thinking I can never have that, then we don't get any closer. Whereas if we can envision the thing that we're moving towards and take steps towards it, that is the magic. You know, that kind of slow, steady, embodied workhorse Taurus energy. Gorgeous. And then what, you know, what is to be cast aside now? What is no longer relevant to us in this moon? Interesting. So we've got the Maiden of Pentacles. So in this deck, they do the quartz a little bit differently, and so we've got the Page, which is the Maiden, which we've got here. The Knight is the Witch of Pentacles. And then we have the Queen, which is still the Queen. And then the King is renamed the Crone. So the Maiden of Pentacles is the Page of Pentacles. And I really feel that, like, when we think of the Page energy and the Pentacles, we've got that kind of like earth energy of Pentacles. But the Page brings that kind of like immature energy, you know, like not immature in a, like we tend to use that in a derogatory way now. I don't mean it like that. I just mean that it's something that has not yet reached its maturity point, you know. And what we're casting off is that sense of ourselves as immature, those places of, you know, this is so layered, and for me personally I feel like, wow, being called out with this card for sure. But it's like, how can I, let's try and peel back a few of those layers. So first of all, we can tend to think of ourselves sometimes as being less, you know, we're not knowledgeable enough, we're not experienced enough, we're just not good enough, you know, all of those things. That's kind of like giving Maiden of Pentacles energy. You know, it's like I can't do this because I'm not there yet, you know, I haven't reached that point of maturity yet. But you know, this is the stuff that we're moving away from now, these like thought prisons that we're moving away from, because we need to understand, you know, we need to reach that point of maturity. This Taurus new moon is it is a very mature, like when we think of Taurus, we think of Empress energy, we think of like full bodied. We're not thinking of a maiden, we're definitely thinking at least of mother, if not like much more crony energy, you know, bringing that in, especially when we're thinking of those Scorpio overlays with this moon. You know, we're bringing in that more wise, experienced energy. We are allowed to see ourselves. Oh, interesting. Look, I think there's, yeah, look, there's a little mirror down here, which is interesting as well, which I might take as like a little, like taster for what I'm going to be doing with for my ritual. I made some notes down here that I'm going to be, of what supportive actions and things I'm going to be taking, which is going to be like massage, meditation, some shadow work. But also I'm going to be doing a manifestation ritual. So I'm going to make like a vision board or collage, but I might bring some mirror work into that as well, because what we're casting off now is those ideas of us as being something that is too small, too insignificant, too weak, too you know, lacking in things, anything that's lacking, like lacking in knowledge, lacking in experience. Because those stories, you know, look how she's kind of almost like posed, you know, like kind of posed because she's like trying to please. And we don't need to do that anymore now. You know, we are moving away from validation from outside of ourselves for other people. You know, like if we're going to wait for somebody to come up to us and say, right, you're now mature, you are now ready to achieve your dreams, you know, that's never going to happen. That is never going to happen. And so instead, what we need to do is to validate ourselves. And so we need to cast off these maiden vibes of ourselves. You know, we are mature people now, and even though there are definitely parts of ourselves that perhaps are like hurt, wounded, you know, and that may be some of the work that we're doing in this moon as well, to be unearthing some of those parts, you know, with that Scorpio, and seeing where they can be tended and perhaps integrated or released, you know, and stepping into our fullness of self so that we can work towards our dreams without feeling like I'm not good enough to do this. Wow.
Yeah. So I'll take a photograph of those and I'll share those in the Discord community as well so that you can have those. And I'll link the Discord down below if you guys would like to join that. I'm going to journal my thoughts on that in here now. And I invite you to do the same if you've been journaling along with me. If not, you can just enjoy relaxing while I do that.
I really hope that you've enjoyed this Taurus new moon ritual. Let me know in the comments, what is your focus for this new moon? Next week, I have a Beltane Tarot Journal video for you, and I'm also hosting a free Beltane Circle. So if you'd like to join, I'll link the details for that down below too. Oh, and I should have said, the reflection space on this spread, I've left that blank for me to fill in after the new moon has passed, and I've completed my like kind of follow-up manifestation ritual that I wrote about on the left-hand page. Thank you so much for hanging out with me during this Taurus new moon ritual. Warmest blessings, and I will see you very soon.